You scatter a $20 bag of ant granules across your lawn. You wait. 3 weeks later, the mounds are back. Same yard, different coordinates. You're not failing at ant control. You're succeeding at exactly what this industry built you to do. There's a mineral compound sitting on the laundry aisle of your grocery store right now that collapses ant colonies from the inside out. Queen, larvae, the entire reproductive structure. And it costs less than $2 for a full season of outdoor treatment. It has been on American shelves since 1891. And the reason it never got a commercial push for pest control is one of the cleaner economic stories you'll ever hear. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete outdoor system for your lawn and garden beds that you can build in an afternoon for under $15 total. But first, let's go back to 1957, because what happened then is the reason you're still buying the wrong thing today. Red imported fire ants had been spreading across the American South since arriving through the port of Mobile, Alabama in the late 1930s and early 1940s. By 1957, Congress had had enough. They funded and launched the Federal State Cooperative Imported Fire Ant Program, a 21-year aerial campaign that sprayed heptachlor, dieldrin, and later a compound called Mirex across tens of millions of southern acres. Here is what that program actually produced. Wildlife populations crashed in treated regions. The chemicals did not discriminate between fire ants and everything else living in those ecosystems. Bird kills were documented across the South. Residues showed up in food supplies. By 1978, the whole campaign had been shut down. Heptachlor and dieldrin banned or severely restricted by the EPA, Mirex canceled. 21 years of federal effort. Billions of dollars. Not one ant species eradicated. The program documented in academic entomology journals and criticized in environmental literature of the period as one of the most expensive pest control failures in American agricultural history. And here is the part that should make you pay attention. When those compounds were banned, the industry did not reach back for what had existed before the synthetic era. It did what industries do. It developed the next generation of proprietary chemistry. Synthetic pyrethroids, carbamates, new molecular structures with new patent clocks and new exclusivity windows and new margins. The older, cheaper approaches were never brought back, not because they stopped working, but because nobody who owned them could profit from promoting them. One of those approaches was borax. Sodium tetraborate has been mined from the Mojave Desert and sold in American homes since 1891. Before the synthetic pesticide era transformed the consumer market, borax-based mixtures were documented household tools for managing ant infestations. The reason they fell out of use is not scientific. There is no patent on a mineral salt that has been in commerce for over a century. No patent means no exclusivity. No exclusivity means no defensible margin. No margin means no advertising campaign. And what doesn't have an advertising campaign gets forgotten. I'll give you the exact build in a few minutes. But first, you need to understand why this compound does something that a contact killer fundamentally cannot, because that mechanism is the whole thing. Here is a number worth sitting with for a moment. Over $6 billion per year. That is the estimated annual cost of damage repair, medical treatment, and control expenditures from red imported fire ants alone. One invasive species, 320 million infested acres across 13 southern states, documented in a Texas A&M economic impact study and cited by the USDA's Agricultural Research Service. $6 billion for one ant. The broader ant control market built around problems like that one has been structured almost entirely around surface-level intervention rather than colony elimination. And the reason for that is worth understanding, because understanding it is what lets you step outside it. Here is the economic logic, and it is genuinely straightforward. After World War II, the American chemical industry had enormous production capacity for synthetic compounds, and consumer pesticides were the obvious market application. Synthetic molecules could be patented. Borax cannot. It is a naturally occurring mineral salt that has been mined commercially for well over 100 years. There is no patent clock on it, which means no company that formulates it can prevent a competitor from selling the same material the next day. No defensible product margin means nobody builds a television campaign around it. So the campaigns went to the chemistry that could be owned, and the mineral that could not be owned was left on the laundry shelf, where it has quietly sat for generations while Americans spent tens of billions of dollars on products that share one fundamental structural problem. They kill the ants you can see while leaving the queen untouched underground. When you spray a contact killer on your lawn, you kill workers, foragers, the visible population. A fire ant queen, left undisturbed in the interior of a healthy colony, lays hundreds of eggs every single day. Kill a few hundred workers, and by the following week, the colony has replaced them entirely. You paid for a week of quiet and nothing more. This is not a failure of the product. It is a structural limitation of the approach. Contact killers were never going to reach the queen, and the companies that sell them know this, which is why they recommend repeat applications. Borax works at a different level entirely, and the mechanism is precise. Sodium tetraborate disrupts an insect's digestive metabolism at the cellular level, interfering with how nutrients are processed and absorbed. But the detail that makes it lethal to colonies, rather than just to individual ants, is this. At the correct concentration, it is slow-acting. Slow enough that a worker ant ingests it, survives, returns to the nest, and participates in what entomologists call trophallaxis, the mouth-to-mouth food sharing that ant colonies rely on to feed their larvae and their queen. Ants cannot simply carry solid food back to the colony. They consume liquid nutrition and regurgitate it to nestmates, including reproductives who never leave. The bait does not just kill the ant that finds it. It rides the colony's own internal food distribution system all the way to the reproductive structure. If you make the solution too concentrated, workers die before they reach the nest. You get dead foragers on your sidewalk and a queen underground who never receives a single dose. University of California research identifies the effective window at roughly 0.5 to 2% borax by weight in the final bait solution. In that range, ingesting workers survive 24 to 48 hours after consumption, long enough to make multiple return trips to the colony, long enough for the bait to spread through trophallaxis to larvae, workers who never foraged, and ultimately to the queen herself. Colony collapse in properly baited situations typically begins showing in 1 to 2 weeks. Full structural elimination of an established mound can take 3 to 4 weeks. That timeline is not a weakness of the method. It is the mechanism. Patience is what reaches the queen. If this still sounds like a home remedy from a different century, here is the check that makes it undeniable. One of the best-selling liquid ant bait products on the American market, the brand with the orange pre-filled plastic stations that probably cost you $6 or $8 the last time you bought them, lists its active ingredient on the EPA-registered label as sodium tetraborate decahydrate, 5.4%. Borax in a corn syrup and water carrier. That is the product. The whole product. You can read the label yourself before you throw the station in the trash. A single 1-ounce station from that brand retails for $6 to $8. A 4-pound box of pure borax runs approximately the same price at any grocery store. 4 pounds of borax makes enough bait solution to treat a standard suburban lawn and garden through an entire ant season. Multiple full applications. You are paying the same dollar amount for 1,000 times the material. The formula was never a secret. The active ingredient has always been on the label. What was missing was any reason for anyone to point it out to you. One more thing specific to your garden, and this is a mechanism that most commercial ant control products never address at all. The ants you see climbing your tomato plants or crossing your raised beds are almost certainly not there to eat the plants directly. Argentine ants, pavement ants, common black ants, The majority of the species you'll encounter in a suburban yard actively farm aphids. They herd aphid colonies onto your plants, physically guard them from natural predators like ladybugs and lacewings, and harvest the sugary liquid the aphids excrete as they feed on plant sap, which entomologists call honeydew. Ants have been documented physically removing the wings from mature aphids to prevent them from flying away and releasing pheromones that suppress aphid escape behavior. Some species gather aphid eggs in autumn and store them inside the nest over winter, then carry the newly hatched aphids out onto fresh plant growth in spring. Your aphid infestation and your ant infestation are frequently the same problem, showing two faces. Eliminate the ant colony, and aphid populations on those plants typically crash within weeks without any additional intervention, because the protection structure that was keeping natural predators away has been removed. Now here is the actual build. You need one 4-pound box of borax from the laundry aisle. Budget $5 to $8. Granulated or powdered sugar, whatever you already have at home. Water. Small, shallow containers. Bottle caps, jar lids, plastic deli cups with several small holes punched in the lid so ants can enter, but rain and debris cannot fill the bait. And optionally, for a physical barrier around garden beds, food-grade diatomaceous earth, available at garden centers for roughly $10 to $15 for a 5-pound bag. Food-grade specifically, pool-grade diatomaceous earth has a different crystalline structure and poses a real inhalation hazard. Before you mix anything, the safety information. Borax is low toxicity to humans and pets at these concentrations, but low toxicity is not zero toxicity, and you should treat it accordingly. Keep bait stations inaccessible to children and pets by placing them under stepping stones, at the base of fence posts, or inside protective containers with ant-sized entry holes. Do not inhale the powder when measuring and mixing. Do not pour the bait solution directly into garden soil. Boron is a natural herbicide at concentrated levels and will damage plant root systems. In garden areas, always use enclosed stations. Never open pools of bait directly on the ground. Wash your hands after handling the mixture. If you are applying diatomaceous earth, wear a simple dust mask. It is non-toxic, but fine mineral particulate is worth not breathing regardless of the source. For the liquid bait, which covers the majority of common lawn and garden ant species, dissolve 1 cup of sugar in 2 cups of warm water. Add 1 teaspoon of borax, not 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon. Stir until the liquid is completely clear and no crystals remain visible. Undissolved borax sitting at the bottom of a container will not be carried to the colony. Ants' mouthparts are too small to process solid particles efficiently. Soak cotton balls in the finished solution and place them on jar lids inside your protective containers. This ratio lands you at approximately 1% borax by weight, squarely within the concentration window where workers survive long enough to deliver the bait to reproductive members of the colony. If you find that ants are completely ignoring your sweet bait after several days, the colony may be in a protein and fat phase rather than a carbohydrate phase, common in spring when queens are actively producing larvae. For this situation, mix 1 tablespoon of borax into 3 tablespoons of peanut butter and place small amounts beside your sweet bait stations. Running both types simultaneously gives you coverage across whatever nutritional cycle the colony is currently in. Placement matters more than most people expect. Ants navigate by pheromone trails, not by random searching, so a bait station placed randomly in the middle of your lawn may sit untouched for days while ants stream along a trail 4 feet away. Before you place anything, spend 5 minutes watching where the ants are actually moving. Along your foundation, along fence lines, between mounds, across garden bed edges. Place stations directly on or immediately beside active trails. Along your foundation, a station every 10 to 15 feet. At garden bed edges, 1 station every 8 to 10 feet. Near mound openings, without disturbing the mound structure itself. Disturbing the mound causes the colony to relocate before the bait reaches the queen. Do not spray contact killers anywhere near your bait stations while the baiting process is underway. A single pass of spray kills the foragers that are currently carrying your bait home, and you have set yourself back to zero. For direct mound treatment as a supplement, not a replacement, 3 gallons of boiling water poured into the mound opening during morning hours when the colony is positioned near the surface to warm up achieves a meaningful kill rate for workers in the upper chambers. Texas A&M. Extension has documented this as a useful supplemental tool. It is inconsistent for reaching the queen in deeper chambers, which is why it should accompany bait stations rather than replace them. For the diatomaceous earth perimeter, apply a thin, dry line around the base of garden beds along any ant access routes. It works by mechanically damaging the waxy outer layer of an insect's exoskeleton, causing dehydration. It has no effect when wet, so reapply after rain. And remember, it is a physical deterrent to limit ant traffic at the plant level, while the bait works on the colony at the source. On timeline, do not evaluate this system after 48 hours. In the first 3 to 5 days, you will likely see increased ant activity around your bait stations as foragers find the material and lay trail pheromones directing more nestmates to it. This is exactly what you want. It means the bait is being found. Visible reduction in colony activity typically appears within 1 to 2 weeks. Full structural collapse of an established mound generally takes 3 to 4 weeks of consistent bait availability. Replenish your stations every 3 to 4 days in warm weather because the liquid evaporates. A dry station attracts nothing. The cost comparison is worth saying plainly. A typical season of commercial ant control for a suburban property, granules, contact sprays, and store-bought bait stations purchased separately, runs somewhere between $40 and $100 depending on the size of the lawn and how aggressively you treat. Professional perimeter treatment through a pest control company typically runs $100 to $300 per visit, with quarterly service the standard package recommendation. Your total material cost for this system: $5 to $8 for borax, $10 to $15 for diatomaceous earth if you want the garden perimeter barrier, and that is optional. Sugar you already have. You are looking at under $15 for a full season of treatment that reaches the queen, rather than a quarterly bill for surface-level intervention that does not. Drop a real number in the comments. How much have you spent on ant control products or pest control service in the last 3 years? Not as a throwaway. The actual number. I want to see what the real household cost of this problem looks like when people say it out loud. And if you know someone who just bought a house and is about to sign a quarterly pest control contract, send them this video first. Not because this channel needs the views, because that contract is going to cost them $1,000 before they figure out what you already know now. The ants do not work for anyone. You should not have to either.